Alright, I want to make a quick video about my development career so far. Mainly because I've never really made a video before. I kind of want to start talking about software in any way I can. Maybe just probably be more like things I'm currently working on or just like random thoughts and rambles and stuff like that. So this will kind of be the first one. I know right now it's 2024. I know people that are struggling to find jobs, software jobs, and so I want to make this video basically just to go through like the history of me learning programming all the way to getting paid for it today. Um, so yeah, I'll just kind of jump into it. Um, Maybe this is a helpful video for people, and maybe it's not really helpful to anyone. I don't know, but yeah, I think I started programming in like 2015, 2016, so maybe like 10 years ago. Um, First stuff I kind of did was I had like an intro to programming course in high school. That was mainly Python, learning the basics, and then a lot of the course we were using Pygame to build like different kinds of games, like mainly like 2D games. Pygame's not really a 3D game engine. At least it wasn't at the time. So yeah, the first thing was basically Pygame. I made like a bunch of little different games for that class. I think it's actually pretty cool, like once you get the basics of programming down, to like try to make games. I feel like a lot of people come into making software because they have an interest in video games or a history of playing video games, and that was definitely true for me. And actually like have this blog, solarescape.blogspot.com. It's kind of funny. Let's see. So when I was first making this game back then, I actually like wrote a blog, and like I think all the way from like October 2015 to like July 2016. So worked on this thing for a pretty long time, and I think it was like really helpful at the time just to write some things down. I think some of it's kind of funny, like the nightmares are over. This is really funny to go back and look at. 10 years ago I was doing this, getting started, having just a ton of fun. So I just found this yesterday, and I thought that was like kind of fun to look at. I actually ended up, I like built this like arcade-ish kind of game in Pygame, and then I realized like I actually wanted people to play it, and it's really hard to distribute games like that. So I ended up learning Lua, and I wrote that down here. I ended up learning Lua and used this software development kit called Corona. It was a pretty terrible arcade game. I had no idea what I was doing, but I did get it on the Play Store. I know my cousin played it a little bit, and there was like a leaderboard on Google Play. So it was kind of fun. It was a good, at least I actually shipped at the time, even though it was terrible. So a lot of learning experiences there. Then kept on the Python journey, got into Django web development. If you don't know Django, it's a pretty like batteries included Python web framework. I used it a long time ago, so it's probably changed a lot since I last used it. But I made this homeowners association site for my neighborhood at the time when I was in high school. Probably nobody looked at it, but it was fun either way, and I did get it deployed on DigitalOcean. So that's when I like really started getting into learning how to like build and deploy web servers and stuff. I was still in high school at the time. We'll skip down. Later on in high school, I did like a more mathy course. There was literally like, I went to a private high school, and it was senior year, and there were 3 people in this math course, and basically we used MATLAB and a bunch of different things. We ended up we built a rocket, the 3 of us, not like a big one, but we created these models. We wanted to try to pinpoint like the trajectory of the rocket and see like how close our estimates could come, and so that was pretty fun. Then yeah, I was pretty much dead set on going to college because I wanted to play college soccer, but also I was super obsessed with programming and building stuff. So I knew for sure I was going to get a computer science degree. So went to school. Most of the curriculum was like the core curriculum, like intro stuff, algos and data structures, like the main line of things was all mainly in Java. Um, so yeah, that was a good experience. Java gets a lot of hate, but at the time, I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed going from Python to Java, just because um, yeah, it was interesting going from a dynamic language where like a lot of things you could just let it rip into Java, which is a little bit more structured, and I feel like I was building like better programs. I took a Systems 1 course. It was like how computers work. We were like doing binary to hexadecimal conversions and stuff on paper, and then writing C programs and doing the same, and a bunch of other stuff like that. It was like super helpful just to understand a little bit more how computers work at a lower level. Um, Not that I necessarily use this stuff like on a day-to-day basis in my job now, but like there's things that in these courses that definitely stick in the back of your head, and they remain useful probably for the rest of your life throughout your career. Then there was a software engineering course. I thought this was cool. I don't know if a ton of other programs do this, but there's a dedicated course to learning about like actually engineering. Like we did group projects with Git, learned about different programming methods, extreme programming, agile, Scrum, all that stuff. Did testing, so we actually wrote tests for our software, which we did not do when we were doing like problem sets and stuff like this. So this was really helpful. I loved this class. I was like, after this class, and I feel like I did well in this class just because I enjoyed it, and I was like, okay, this is absolutely what I'm going to be doing for a living. Um, Took a database management system course, very cool. Designed a inventory management system for a fictional business. We got to choose which one. I think I did like a used car dealership. So designed like an inventory management system for that. It was pretty fun. Learned a lot about databases there. Advanced web development. This was a great course. No, there's literally not one mention of a framework in here, and I think that was actually a good thing because we were talking about like how web servers actually work, how browsers work, and we use HTML, PHP, JavaScript, a little bit of CSS, not much, but really stuck to the basics of things. I thought this was nice. I had no problem with the fact that this didn't have any frameworks in it. You know, I thought it was good to. I mean, frameworks, they introduce basically a ton of abstractions so that like if you're building a business and you like want to build features fast, move fast, and build an app that you could hire other people, they could build it as well. That's where frameworks, in my opinion, come in really handy. But in terms of for like just learning how like this stuff works, I think it's better to just stick to like the basics. And then took like an AI course. We in basically throughout the course of the course, everyone in the class had to build an Othello bot. This is basically like a board game. This is pretty interesting because I never really thought about like multiplayer games or anything like that, but this was a mixture of that and trying to build a program, like a bot that could play against other people. How this basically worked, and I thought this was really cool because, I just never done anything at the time. It was a fun project. Pretty much the instructor, the professor of the course, basically built a referee program that would read from standard in and write standard out, and our programs had to do the same thing. So they'd be sending like piece moves through standard in and standard out, and your program had to be had to take commands from the referee or other players, and you know, essentially, like, for example, if the game started and there's a black player and a white player, so does black go first or white goes first, the referee would send that message across. You'd have to read that, and if you're the white player and it's your turn, then you need to know your program needs to send a move, and you need to maintain a representation of the state of the game. So all players basically had to maintain their own internal state of the game, which I thought was like pretty interesting. My bot, I think, finished 8 of like 40. It wasn't great, not gonna lie. It was pretty like naive. Actually, sadly, a lot of people in that class, their bots just would crash. So, like, even with not that much sophistication in how my bot played, the fact that it didn't crash and it could, actually finish out games, put me ahead a lot. Then I took like this I call it polycomp course, which is basically like a political computer science course. I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm actually really interested in this kind of stuff, like, but maybe that's for a different video. First gig, Lowe's.com. This was a great experience for me. This was right out of college. I really, this first gig, you don't know what you don't know in your first gig. It's just like, it's tough. I think anyone who gets their first dev job would probably agree that it's a lot harder than you think it's gonna be. So yeah, I was making like probably $80,000 a year there. E-commerce, if you're not familiar, it's like home improvement. It's a very large company in the U.S. I was working on the product detail page. Front end React. We had like a Happy server. Happy.js. Pretty very high traffic, actually. I want to say it was like 50 million requests per day or something like that. A lot of money, a lot of orders flowing through. We had holiday on-call stuff, especially around like Black Friday and stuff like that. A lot of deals going around. So that would be on-call, would be like every 2 hours, someone from the team is basically just watching a Grafana dashboard, and at the end of your 2-hour shift, whenever there's super high traffic. This was a little bit different from on-call. Basically during like Black Friday and holiday events and stuff like that, like the team would rotate through 2-hour shifts of monitoring the Grafana dashboard, and then at the end of your shift, you would write down some key things, like I don't know how many 500 errors there were in the past 2 hours, or what the average latency was, like all this kind of stuff. And that would get emailed to whoever our report was. We were doing 1 to 2 production deployments per week, which is pretty significant. And then we got into it's just some interesting stuff. We got into basically trying to solve organizational problems. If anyone's familiar with Module Federation, probably know what I'm talking about, but that's a little besides this video. Then I went to Ally Bank for about 2 years. I think I was making around $150K per year. It was a retail, mainly worked on a retail auto application, so like everyday people getting loans on their vehicles and stuff like that. Did some batch apps. Actually, I did one batch app, which was like right here, it's basically hitting a used car API. We basically had like this vendor that we would get like current market value of used cars, and we would store that on our books, so that we could basically do financing. I thought it was a lot slower than e-commerce. I personally think the finance industry, especially working at a bank or something like that, is really good for devs early on that maybe need a little bit more time to get up to speed with things, as opposed to e-commerce. So anyway, take that for what it is. I think if you're looking for one of your first gigs, a bank might be it. And then today, yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest about what I'm making about what I made at Ally Bank, just cash wise. But I got equity in the form of ISOs. We're basically building an investment research platform. I don't go too much more into that, but maybe that's for another video. Mainly doing we have a bunch of Python APIs, but the main application that I work on is Flask app, which is similar to Django that I mentioned earlier, but like a much less, like basically no batteries included web framework. I actually think it's fantastic to work with. It's a lot of fun. And we're just using, honestly, vanilla technology, vanilla JS, CSS, all that stuff with just some included libraries through script tags. And we don't really have like a huge build process and stuff like that you would have in like a React app or something. We'll eventually upgrade. It's just like at this point, we're just so focused on like building and shipping features and trying to keep things as simple as possible. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So yeah, this is everything that I did up until I started getting paid till today. And so yeah, basically 10 years. It took me like honestly like 6 to 7 years of programming and going to school and all this stuff before I actually got paid $1 single for any of this stuff. So I hope that actually like helps a little bit. And if you're like 1, 2, 3 years in and just feeling discouraged, it took me 6, 7 years before I started getting paid. So I would say just sorry, been pretty sick lately. Finally just feeling better. But yeah, all that being said, I don't get discouraged. If there's any piece of advice, well, I'll preface the advice with I still have an extremely long way to go. I'm by no means like an expert or anything like that. I'm still grinding day in, day out. I still need like 2 more decades, honestly. I personally feel like I need 2 more decades of just building stuff and getting better before I should really even be giving advice. But in this case, I'll give advice, but just with that caveat that I don't know what I'm really talking about. Just show up every day and give your best effort, and that's essentially all you can do. If you really love programming, try to like do whatever you can to keep the love of programming around. So even when you get a job, just try to remind yourself that you got into it because you love it, and try to find ways to get back to that feeling of loving it. I think is what I've been doing this whole time. So anyway, I thought this would be a cool video. Hope this is helpful. I'll probably make some more videos. Peace.